If we're not at a Disney park, we're dreaming about being there, and a cup of Joffrey's Coffee Disney Blend helps. But what about when you're at a Disney park? The Joffrey's Disney Kiosk and Restaurant Locator will make sure you never miss out. Whether it's a cool drink on a hot summer vacation or a great cup of coffee at a Disney signature restaurant, Joffrey's has you covered. Check it out at Joffreys.com.
Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is our final boarding call, and the doors will be closing soon.
Hey everyone, welcome back to ResortLoop.com. I'm Tim Scott.
I'm Bob Collar.
This is episode something, and I'm very excited about today's show.
Are you?
I am excited. I'm still mildly perturbed that we're going to talk about what we're going to talk about. But, let's get some other stuff out of the way first.
All right. So before we get started, we had an iTunes review from it's by Sheeligans. I think we know who that is.
I think we do.
Sheeligans. It says fun, family-friendly Disney podcast. Great podcast about Disney with two guys, Tim and Bob, who have wonderful chemistry and love of all things Disney. I also appreciate their high production value, as their sonorous voices are so clear. Is that right? Sonorous voices?
You might be. I don't think I am.
So clear. Even when they have guests, the volume and clarity are consistent. That's all because of you, sir.
No, it's not just me. Come on.
He's a taskmaster. Trust me.
Well, there is that.
I get constant reviews, folks, by this guy. Constant reviews.
Yeah.
I hover. A joy to listen to both for the content and for their personalities. You can just listen or choose to get involved with Looper Nation on social media or their website. I must admit that iTunes is not my favorite listening platform. I use Stitcher. Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong at all.
More intuitive and flexible. Hope iTunes doesn't delete my review. So it's not the iTunes that we're worried about, Sheeligans. It's those Russian hackers. Concerned about the hacking that might be going on.
Maybe breaking into our site, stealing our FastPass.
It might be.
We don't want that to get out there.
Or possibly saying we have more downloads. I'm not sure how they're swinging. Whether they like us, don't like us, I don't know what's going on.
Oh my gosh, no, we don't.
But I do know that I absolutely love this topic. This was a series that you came up with.
It is.
You and your lovely wife, Dawn. I absolutely love this. This is our Worth of the Splurge.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. See, I kind of added. I'm following your footsteps. A little pregnant pause there.
I like how you did that.
I'm trying to emulate, my mentor, my... Sheesh.
Oh, brother.
There better be something extra in my check.
I'll double it.
Wait a minute. 0 times. Never mind.
So tell us about this Worth the Splurge.
Okay, so our Worth the Splurge today is going to be, is it worth the splurge now to rent a car if you're going to Walt Disney World?
Oh.
Flying in.
Right. I'm flying into MCO.
Right.
Wheels are down.
Wheels down.
I land. I go to Magical Express.
Right.
But I'm not going to Magical Express because I'm going to go rent a car. Should I rent the car or should I go to Magical Express?
Now, typically, we have always said we like renting a car.
I love renting a car.
There is so many benefits to having your own vehicle.
Freedom.
Wow. The Russians will have to edit that part out. Anyway, wow.
Political.
Anyway, right, the freedom of like you have always said. What's the first thing you do after you leave MCO before you get to Walt Disney World?
Generally, I pay about 3 or 4 tolls.
Yeah, sadly, there is that.
And then one of the first things we do, we might check in first, or we might just make a stop on the way. We get a couple cases of water.
Right. Why is that, Tim?
Because we all know that once you get inside the Disney bubble, water becomes scarce and very expensive.
That and let's face it, that water from the spigot when you're wanting to enjoy your Joffrey's coffee in-room Joffrey's.
Yeah.
That water from the spigot, not the best water in the world. It's just, it's well water and it's been processed.
Right.
And it's okay. It's not going to hurt you. But nothing better than bottled water for your cup of Joffrey's every morning.
That's right.
So here's the breakdown. Okay, used to be you easily. This is I just put some numbers together for a trip in the middle of June. Okay, we're going in the middle of June, 7 nights, a typical vacation, checking in Saturday, checking out the following Saturday for a family of 4. You're to rent the car for that amount of time, mid-sized car.
Okay,
you're looking at about $250.
All right,
there. These are all general dollar figures. We don't need to get super specific here because it's going to vary depending on how you travel. So $250 for the car. Unfortunately, now we have to add in parking.
Right.
So your parking, if you're this is assuming you're staying on property, obviously. Your parking is going to cost you about, for that same amount of time, I just rounded it up to $20, $140. So now we're up to almost $400.
Right.
To rent that car and have it parked at Walt Disney World. Now I'm going to say this. It's a no-brainer. If you're staying off property, no-brainer. You want your own car.
Absolutely.
Because it's worth paying that entry fee into the theme parks to park the car in the theme parks and avoid the transports back and forth to the hotels. I'm not saying they're bad to the properties that are off or the hotels that are off property.
They can be inconsistent.
Inconsistent. It can take you a long time to get on one of those buses, and then if there's a lot of people from your hotel, you got to wait for the next one. Yeesh.
Oh my goodness! You might be waiting for that same bus or van to go and come back.
And you pointed out, a lot of them will go to other hotels. They don't just go to your hotel.
Right. Multiple stops.
Right. So you got small kids. That's going to be an irritation for you. But if you're staying on Disney property, is it worth $400, Tim, for that flexibility?
This is for a week-long trip, you're asking me.
Week-long trip?
Yes. For a week-long...
Right. Sorry. Rental car $250,
mm-hmm.
parking in the ballpark of $140, so ballpark $400 to rent that car for the week.
I'm going to say, for me and my family, no brainer. We're still going to get the car.
You're still getting the car.
We're still getting the car. We have a tendency, a couple times during our trip, we like to go off Disney property just to go out to eat.
Okay.
Sometimes we want like the Chick-fil-A.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
And I think we're going to save enough money besides just the water. You figure $3 a bottle, $3.50 a bottle versus, $3.50 for a case.
Well, true.
So you got that.
True.
Going outside for a meal, and you can still park, even though you're staying at a Disney resort, you can still park at the theme parks. I mean, they're not going to get charged twice for parking.
Right. No, that's true.
And we just generally, maybe excluding the Magic Kingdom, although we still usually do that, we just drive ourselves. We don't like to have to wait for a whole lot of buses.
Uh-huh. I agree.
That's me. Now, if we were going for maybe a 2 or a 3-day trip,
uh-huh,
and maybe, we weren't going to take the time out of our week-long vacation like we would, maybe to go off property. It's a concentrated, we're spending 2-3 days at Disney. Then I would consider not renting a car and just taking Magical Express.
Okay.
What do you think?
All right.
How do you think of it?
I got to tell you, this one, it always was a no-brainer to me. It was always rent that car, rent the car, get there. But now with the whole parking situation, I think it has really muddied the waters for that family. Okay, so if it's for if it's a family where you have 2 adults and 2 teenage kids, maybe preteen, maybe preteen kids, I'm going to say no. Because you can handle the Disney transportation at that point. You can handle everybody standing in the bus because it's crowded and you need to get back to your resort. If you've got a small kids, you're a new family with little ones, I think you got to go with the rental car. It's tough. This is a tough decision now.
It's tough.
This whole parking thing.
Because a lot of it is what do you value? It's not just the dollars of paying to park now. Like you said, is it worth a few extra dollars to not have to worry about, how are my young kids? Are we going to buckle them up in the car on the way?
Right.
As opposed to hang onto the rail or sit on my lap. No.
Exactly.
It's a huge convenience having that car.
And you and I have both had this experience where we've had our small kids at Walt Disney World, staying late because we want to see the fireworks. And then we're standing there holding the kids on the bus back to the resort.
Right.
And you're wiped out at that point.
Oh, I'm crankier than the kids are. The kids are, asleep.
Right. Yeah. You're tired. They're asleep, but you still got to hang on to them because, unfortunately we have those folks out there that won't let kids sit down, won't let ladies sit down.
You're
I'm
right.
just saying, don't get me on a rant.
We're not no rants, but we've seen it happen.
So here's the other thing. And again, folks, I wish we had a definitive answer for this. This is tough now.
It's like so many things at Disney. It depends on how you like to travel and what you like to be able to do.
Exactly. And you're going to have to look at the numbers yourself, because if $400 to you, if that convenience is worth it to be able to take those kids at the end of the night and take those kids back to your car, get in the car without it being freezing cold, because it'll still be warm in the car from the sun, because sometimes those buses get cold,
It's true.
and get them to your resort where, and I've done this before, where you pull up to the resort. My wife would take the kids to the room and I'd go park the car. So they're in the room, boom, quick, nice and easy. No bus stop, no going to the parking lot, none of that stuff. If that convenience is worth $400 to you, this might be you might want to rent the car. Now let's throw this monkey wrench in there too.
There's more?
Because let's face it, rumor, by the way, folks, if you haven't heard the rumor, which you probably already have by now, if you listen to the show and you're part of Looper Nation Live on Facebook, we already let that rumor out that looks like they're getting a new monorail fleet at Walt Disney World.
Woohoo!
Woohoo indeed, sir.
That's only a couple presidential terms too late. But I'm glad to see it's coming. I'm hoping.
Me too. So you're going to have the monorails. You're going to have the buses, of course. Now these new Skyliners. Let's not confuse what they are. The new Skyliners. But here is now where Disney has thrown yet another monkey wrench into the works when it comes to renting a car. You got the minivans, right?
Yes.
So here's the thing. For that $400 you're going to spend on that rental car and parking, going for that week, that 7 nights at Walt Disney World, you can hit a minivan more than 2 times a day. You got 16 trips in a minivan.
That's a good point. I like that. Now,
16.
Now, I enjoyed the minivans. If this happens and those minivans become super popular,
right,
you might have to end up waiting for minivans, though. More so. The one time we had to wait like 2 minutes. It was crazy. But
2 whole minutes.
How long are you exactly? We barely walked out after I hit the little thingy on my app. It was almost there by the time we walked outside.
Right, and see that's where they've thrown that little curve at you, where they've kind of taken any kind of advantage that you have of renting your own car right away.
How long are you willing to wait for a minivan? Say people start really using this minivan service.
Uh-huh.
How long are you going to wait? Now it's going to be like, maybe your ride will be there in 10 minutes.
I'm okay with that. And
You're
I'm
out
gonna
there,
tell you why.
a bus pulls away as you're waiting for your minivan, where you're going?
I'm going to tell you why. Because one, the minivan is going to drop me off right at the door of my hotel. I'm not having, if I'm staying at an all-star or at a moderate, I don't have to hit every one of those, sections before I get to my room.
Point-to-point access is what you're saying.
Point-to-point access, and let's look at this logically. Magic Kingdom. We spend the night at the Magic Kingdom having a great time. Boom, it's time to go. Give me a minivan that's waiting for me, even if I got to wait 10 minutes as opposed to the bus that's going to be jam-packed with people and I might not get a seat. Give me that minivan that's $25 that's going to take me right from just about from the gates of the Magic Kingdom to my room, as opposed to if I'm renting a car, now I got to wait for either the monorail to get me back to Ticket and Transportation or the boat to get me over there. That's way more than a 10-minute ride.
I think it's more than ironic that is a great plan at a moderate or a value, and it's not quite as much of an advantage at a deluxe hotel because they have to drop you off at the front, the front door.
Right.
And some of those walks from the front door, like the Animal Kingdom, if you're way out there, you have another mini marathon to get to your room. Well,
but that's any transportation you're going to take.
Well, I mean, that's true, but then you're losing a little bit of the advantage of paying the extra money for the minivan at a deluxe. I mean, a little bit.
I'll give you a little bit of that.
I said a little bit.
And,
don't put a condition on my preface.
You're very argumentative today.
I'm caffeinated up.
All right.
No,
excellent. I'm just saying, this is why I'm starting to believe, and I was a very big believer in the rental car situation. I thought there's no doubt I'm getting a rental car anytime I go to Walt Disney World because I do like to go other places. But as far as what Disney has done with the minivans, and now you've got the Uber as opposed to having to get a cab or something like that to get you to some other places. It's starting to really lean the other way, where maybe renting a car is not the best option, especially when you're now throwing in ballpark around $20 for the parking. That's the problem, and Disney knows that, and that's one of the reasons they did it.
Well, I think another problem just people need to consider, and again, you have to figure if this is value for you. If you're going with young kids, sometimes you need that car because there's stuff you need at the store that might not be in your gift shop at the hotel.
I'll give you that. But
I mean, it's just something to consider.
Okay, I'm okay with that. But why not then just get an Uber to take you out to 192 or International Drive, depending on whatever's closest, and say, hey, take me over to the nearest Publix. I need to grab some groceries. Get that, and you're back at the room. And you're only done. You've only used it once. Because let's face it, here's the other thing, too. When you think about the rental car, if you decide not to take it to the park, or you decide today's just a resort day, you're still paying for that car, and you're still paying for it to sit in that parking lot. Throwing money away, mister.
No. I'm making up for that money by eating outside of the park. And my case of, don't throw away my cases of water.
Are you buying $400 worth of water?
It could seem like it, honestly. You've been there.
If you're talking about Disney in late August, yeah, you could go through $400 worth of water.
Oh, my goodness.
I don't know, Tim. I really, it's become very, very complex.
It does, especially if you're going to do a total Disney vacation. If you're not going to zip over to NASA for a day,
right?
If you're not going to any other theme parks in the area, if there's no other restaurants outside of Disney you want to go to,
right? Correct.
But I don't know. I just kind of like knowing that if I want to do something, I can do something. Although, I mean, there's always the option you can just rent it for the day too if you need a car. You don't need to rent it for a whole week. So that's a good point also. That's
a good point. But again, the whole dollar figure is kind of out the window, because the less days you rent, the more expensive it is. So,
right.
But I don't know. I just think that if you're going to go and again, folks, you got more than 2 kids. that need car seats, you can forget the minivan, because the minivan's only going to take two. Unless Disney decides they're going to up that game and get maybe some of those bigger vans to accommodate larger families.
A maxi van.
Which would be nice. It would be nice if they would do that.
I wouldn't be surprised if they widen their whole fleet. You get your standard minivans, maybe you got full-size vans.
Yeah.
Maybe motorcycles with sidecars. I could see a whole bunch of other things happening here.
Hey, there's my retirement
There
job.
you go.
Yeah, why not? Charge an extra $5. I think a family of 5 or 6 would be more than happy to spend $5 extra to have a minivan that'll take them, directly to where they need to go. Plus, we're hearing that everything is is really cool with the minivan, folks. You did that.
Yeah, it was very cool.
Yeah.
And I will say, if you're going on a trip and you're not taking kids, I know we prefaced our whole thing today on taking kids, but if it's just a couple, then you can, Uber, Lyft, minivan, zip around however you need to go.
Right.
So,
changes the whole dynamic.
Exactly.
If it depending on what your group dynamic is. If it's just the two of you going down, 2 adults, use that Disney transportation. That'll be plenty. But again, if it's small kids, that's where you got to really start thinking about it. So, let's wrap this up.
Pull it together. Put it in a bow.
Worth the splurge, Tim, for you renting that car going to Walt Disney World.
It still is for me. I'm old school. I want to be able to go where I want to go.
All right. I'm saying it is no longer worth the splurge for a rental car. I know, we're split decision, folks. Usually doesn't happen.
No. I don't know if I can work like this anymore. I don't even know you.
No, you don't.
Oh, my gosh.
See, we lied, Sheila. There is no chemistry between
None.
us. It's over. It's
Oh.
over. The charging the park broke up Resort Loop. Anyway, Tim, that is all I've got.
Everybody, thanks for joining us for a spirited conversation on the cost of parking and our yay or nay. Exactly. Tim Scott, Facebook, Twitter, the website, ResortLoop.com.
Like us on Facebook. Join us over on Facebook, Looper Nation Live, and rate us on iTunes like Sheiligans did. And what else should folks do, Tim?
Everyone go out there, check out ResortLoopTravel.com, and then share the gateway to the magic.
See you, everybody.
Vacation memories will stay with you and your family for a lifetime. The Resort Loop Travel Group was created with this in mind. Our fee-free services will relieve you of the stress and confusion of finding and booking the best vacation at the best price. After booking, we will continue to monitor for ways to save you even more on your vacation. We will check for any upcoming packages and discounts to save you as many vacation dollars as possible. Resort Loop Travel Group, gateway to your magical vacation memories. Get a quote, or for more information, visit ResortLoopTravelGroup.com.